Good morning from Wiley, Colorado, and here it is, day 17 on the road, the Modern Eater Show. We continue with our road trip, 21 days, and we're heading into a 4th of July weekend. This is a great time as we are at the Jagers Livestock right now, and we have Mr. Lance Jagger with us. How are you?
Oh, great. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. I'm learning some new things. Let's start out with this. What are we looking at right now?
So right now my daughter Cassidy is actually blowing her calf. It's a morning routine that the kids have with their show cattle that'll go to county fair and state fair. She's blowing a little dirt out of the hide, just trying to get the calf halfway clean before we take them over to the wash rack and give them a little rinse for the day.
Just you going, it's like my morning routine.
Right.
It's getting ready, brushing the teeth, and taking a shower, and getting a little blowout right there.
Get that hair blown before you take a shower in this situation.
That's right. We're going to learn a lot of stuff this morning. Rick Robbins joins us as well from Colorado Mills, and we're kind of in the region as we're just northwest, about 11 miles from Lamar, Colorado, and that's the home of Colorado Mills. We're going to learn a lot this morning in the next 10, 15 minutes. Let's talk about what we're going to look at today.
Well, I was just going to say, you guys brought rain. Look at you guys. Wherever you came from, you brought some to us. Right. So we're going to talk about just some diversification with my kids and what they really love about agriculture. We wanted to show you the cattle first. It's something different than we did last time whenever you all were here. And so I guess we can come over here to Corbin and to see what we're doing next with the next step.
Yeah, do a little reset. This is what we're doing. This is why we're out. 21 days on the road is to connect Coloradans with our delicious food and beverage here. And it's not born on a shelf at Whole Foods or Safeway. This is where it originates. And this is a family farm that's very diversified. We're going to talk about diversification as well. I think that's important. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that are going on educationally, and you are in educational ag. Talk about that real quick before we head on over here to Corbin.
So actually, I'll be starting my 23rd year as an agriculture teacher at the high school level.
Congratulations.
That's a few years.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, it's something I love and I'm passionate about. I mean, obviously, I have my own kids right now that really have dived into agriculture. But, over the years, I've had a lot of students that have really taken agriculture as a pathway for themselves. And so I love doing it. I love spending time with my students. I love teaching them anything from range science all the way. We were talking about food science earlier. And, that opportunity to be able to teach them in those pieces and facets about agriculture is just something that I'm truly passionate about.
Now, agriculture, there's a lot of things that are happening and swirling around in the sense of how do we keep the next generation engaged? What are you seeing with that to keep the next? And you're doing a great job with your family here, but it's important to try and pass that along.
Right. So when I talk to my students, I talk a lot about career interests, right? And most people typically think of agriculture as that 2% of the population or less that's actually producing the food that we consume. But there's so many other careers. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've talked to students about the food science, for example. I mean, what a great career to go into. I had a student that his thing was, I want to make new flavors of ice cream. And so he went down south of Texas, went to school at Texas A&M, and now he's a scientist creating new flavors of ice cream, right? I mean, it's just such a broad spectrum, and I think whenever I'm talking to students and trying to convince them to be involved in agriculture, the thing that we have to do is just really connect with where their interests are and what they love. And there's so many things they can do in agriculture other than just production.
What a great point. The best of the best right here, and Lance Jagger with us. Let's go on over here to Corbin and see what he's up to this morning. Now, Corbin, this is your morning routine, isn't it, my friend?
Yep, this is the morning routine. Gotta get out of bed, take a shower, and come outside and get started on the calves.
Give us the play-by-play, Corbin. What are you up to?
Just so, first you'll blow them like my sister did. Then you always want to come through just to keep the hair healthy and keep it just all clean. So on Mondays, you'll wash them with soap. And then on all the way throughout the week, except for Sunday, you will rinse them. And on Sundays, it's a break day, so they just go into the cool room as they would live their life all dirty and messy.
Now you guys school us that don't know. When do you show this livestock? What kind of breed of cow is this? Just talk about exactly what you're doing and what the end goal is.
So what we're doing is basically creating a market animal that is showable and presentable to a judge that can also be eaten later. So we will do this for a month or two, wash them every day and that kind of stuff. And then depending on what fair we're going to take them to, there's the state fair that's later in August and the county fair that's at the end of July. The county fair is probably where this calf will go, but who knows what'll happen.
What do the judges look for, Corbin?
Usually muscle and cover on the ribs, so that's fat and that kind of stuff, and just which animal will produce the most meat.
What breed of calf is this?
This is a Simmental.
It's a Maine Anjou cross.
A Maine Anjou cross. So the Maine Anjou cows, my grandpa used to raise some. They're known for their hair and their pelts and that kind of stuff.
And their meat, right?
Yeah,
yes,
and their
yes.
meat. But they have more hair than most other
Let's see,
breeds.
clean them up.
Okay, so you're going to take your hose, and you always want to rinse back and down. So just like you would do you rinse your hair first, just so you don't want to start and get the bottom of you all clean, and then rinse your hair, and if a ton of dirt comes out, then you have to start all over.
I better switch up my routine then.
So you always want to go over the top line, up at the top first, and then rinse them downward, just again so that all the dirt will run off of them instead of running onto the clean parts of their body.
It's like washing a car.
Yeah.
Top down, top down.
And so why do you have to clean them so often if you're not, why not just clean them right before you show them?
Right. So ultimately, that's a great question. And for the people out there to kind of understand what's going on here, since these cattle are going to be shown, exhibited, we're trying to get them in the best shape we possibly can. Obviously the carcass is there. You can see this calf has a huge hip in him, a lot of muscle built into this calf. But to be competitive, you have to get that hair to grow too, right? And that's where a lot of the time is spent with the kids, and that's really where they connect with the calves, because they're leading them around and they're working with them all the time, right? You can't go out to the pasture and spray the face of a cow, right? But Corbin can do that here. But ultimately, that we need that hair to grow so that we can, when we go to clip them and make them look all pretty for fair, that they're on point, right? It's kind of like going out to a fancy dinner. You know, your hair's on point, you got your face shaved, you're all cleaned up. That's what we're looking for here. We're trying to get them on point and ready to go.
So at the end of the day, if it shows well, what's the accolades? What happens at that point?
So ultimately, at the county fair, if you get Grander Reserve champion, you're going to get a little more. The kid's going to get a little more money for their efforts to the premium sale, right? And it's not all about the money. It's really about the teachable moments that go along with it. But you got to pay for things too, right? And so that accolade of getting that banner of having the grand champion of the county fair, or getting one in the sale at state fair. Not every animal at the state fair sells, only the best, right? And so the opportunity to be able to have that experience and the kids get to connect with a whole different group of people. That's when we really got to start knowing Rick. Through the county fair and through that action, right? And so I'd say that the accolades come with the connections the kids get to make with the public, and be able to tell the public at state fair. We have a lot of people come through there asking questions about the livestock, right? And I've always told my kids, let's take time and let's talk to people. Like, make the time to talk to people about what we're doing in production agriculture. We have to be educators too, no matter what age we really are.
So this is a vehicle to conversation as well.
Absolutely, and I think that's the biggest key with the show livestock industry is that connection with people that aren't totally connected to where their food comes from.
Look at you, you're weird like me. You get all geeked out about this type
Get a little
of
hair
stuff.
on my neck.
I love it too.
Yeah.
And so, and this is a way to keep people engaged as well, and also to, and we talk about it. How can the end consumer actually get educated too? It breaks the ice.
Right. And I think that's where we're at a lot in agriculture education is how do we advocate? How do we teach the kids how to advocate? And what better way to do it than teach them here so they can teach them there?
One of the things that where we participate when we go to over 10 county fairs through eastern Colorado, and we go to what they call the premium livestock sale. And what we're doing is we're not necessarily buying that animal. What we're doing is paying that student a premium for the quality of work they've done. And so when we look at that, whether they're grand champion, reserve champion, or maybe they got first in their class, but they're getting rewarded, and it's money that companies like us donate, because what it does is it helps further their education, not only in the agricultural part they're in, but also into different aspects. You know, Colorado Mills is all about agriculture, but none of us put a tractor out in the field or have an animal underfoot. So,
right, absolutely. Well, and I think that's the benefit we get with our local companies, is the opportunity to be able to connect that way, and then them support our kids. You know.
So this is there's a lot of commitment involved to this, right? And I've got to wonder, what do you do on the days that you don't want to do this?
You do it anyway.
That's the answer I was looking for there.
Well, I help teach kids on their first year 4-H, and I say, when you get up in the morning, do you fix your own breakfast? No, Mom does. And all these things that are done for you when you were small. Well, now your responsibility is that animal. And that animal's depending on you for breakfast, on you for lunch, on you to help them take a bath. And so it also builds all of those things in their ethics and work ethics that will be seen throughout their lifetime, no matter where they work, whether they work in agriculture or not.
That's a great point, Rick. What they're learning right now is something that transcends through many facets of life.
Right, and that's why Rick and I mean, we're so much on the same page just with how we like to see our kids grow, because it does teach that responsibility. It teaches them that, you've got to get up and you got to get going, and when you get there, you work. I mean, Corbin would probably like to look at his phone and see what messages came through, right? I mean, we're trained to look at those things, but ultimately, he knows he needs to get this calf done and get him inside for the rest of the day and let him do his thing, and then we got to move on to the next thing. We got some fields to work and those kind of things, and so it just teaches that motivation, that self-starting, and just that responsibility to allow people to be successful as adults.
Yeah, and as you enter your senior year in high school, Cassidy, I understand you've taken a liking to the educational aspect of this as well. What in the educational aspect have you really been drawn to?
Just teaching people more about agriculture, I think. Especially whenever we go to shows, I like to teach people about it. And as I see that not very many people are going into agriculture anymore, I think it's important that they have a good teacher who can teach them about the importance of agriculture, and I think that I can do that.
What do you figure your generation, as we talk about this a little bit, going into the next generation of agriculture with technology and social media, how can those things lend helpful to educate other people that may not want to dig as deep, but the surface level things to draw them in of interest?
Well, I think social media can either kill something good or help something
You're
good.
Right.
There's definitely those people out there, like animal activists, that really like to blog on agriculture. But I think most of the time, whenever agriculturists stand up for what we do and really get the truth out there through social media, then I think that draws more people into learning more about agriculture. And then maybe if that's something that they didn't think that they wanted to do, then maybe they'll be able to decide that's what they want to do.
Yeah, a lot of times what we see in agriculture is that you could be a great farmer and a great rancher, and you really know how to do those things and be a great steward of your land and great husbandry to the livestock and the animals, but you're just not a great business person to have that front-facing business. You guys do a great job of making this known in a diverse piece of property that you have here, in the educational aspect and the business aspect, which we'll get into here in a bit, that teaching-wise. But how do you... What's your recommendation to other people in agriculture that want to make a business out of what they're doing, but they're just real good farmers or ranchers?
I definitely say stick to what you're good at. Like, if you're not that good of a business person, like...
Find someone who is.
Yeah, find someone who
yeah, that's right. And then get together, because high tides raise all ships, of course.
Exactly.
Corbin, how much more of this you got, my friend?
I'm about done here, and then I just need to fly spray him so that he doesn't get bit a lot in there in the cool room. And going back to your question about if I don't want to do this, I just have to think about how this animal is dependent on me, not the other way around. I'm not as dependent on this animal as he is on me, because he doesn't have to feed me at night and water me and keep me clean. I can do all of that myself. So you just have to take good care of all your livestock, because you just have to remember at the end of the day, they depend on you.
It's on you, yeah. You must be beaming with pride.
Yeah,
right.
right.
See your
Get a little choked up right
yeah,
there.
your kids are just they're fantastic. All right, show us around some more if you will.
Cool. We're going to run over here real quick and just show you where these calves go into during the day. Like we said, I mean, most livestock in commercial livestock are not handled this way, but this is what my kids love to do. They love the show aspect of it, although we do raise some commercial type livestock. But during the day, these calves get to go in what we call the cool room, and most of the time it's cooler than our house, right? It's just an opportunity for those calves to really, they're getting a lot of finish on them, a lot of fat on them at this point. And typically speaking, livestock do not develop a lot of fat during the hot summer months, right? It's just not natural for them. More natural for them to put on cover during the winter months. I mean, kind of like us, right? We like to cover up just a little bit during the winter.
For sure.
And so ultimately, we've got to work pretty hard to make sure. And when you come in, if you have Wi-Fi, it may not work all the way inside here. You may have to stay at the door. So just because it's a steel building. So during the day, I mean, we've got a big old AC unit sticking right up here, and if you stood underneath here, you're going to get kind of chilly because we got a little bit of rain on our backs, right? And so we put them up in here on shavings, make sure those get cleaned every day. The kids work on those. They get to be tied up for a little bit, and they get these real powerful fans blowing on their backside, just to kind of push that hair forward and dry them up. And then as soon as they're dry, they get to lay down, right? And all day long, they just get to kind of be in here and
it's a spa.
Just kind of hang. It is a spa, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. It doesn't have, real fancy lights and colorful things going on in here, but it's a spa for these cattle.
Chilling out.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the cave. It's cool room right here.
Cool room, yep. And it definitely does help. I mean, you can tell this heifer has a ton of hair, and it's just...
How long do you hang on to the animals for?
Right, so that I know Corbin touched on that slightly, but these calves, we purchase our calves. We don't raise our own from different producers throughout the state, and the kids purchased them in September, October, and we kind of let them be calves and just eat, and then they end up putting the halter on them and training them to lead, which sometimes end up being a rodeo, right? Training them to lead, and then ultimately we're working to try to get them to grow and get that finish on them, and we'll finish the kids and I will finish our time with these calves either in July, so almost a year later, or August, which is dang near a year later, depending on whether they are county fair, state fair type animals.
Gotcha.
Right? And usually we don't put ours on what they call the floor plan at the county fair, state fair. We bring them back and feed them for a few weeks, and we consume our own. Right? And sometimes we sell them to family members. We don't just take them and just sell them at the sale barn, for example. We're eating what we're growing.
That's awesome.
And that's.
Can I go in on that one over there?
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll make you a good deal. I promise, right?
On that one.
I promise.
I'm truly in love with this family. This is the Jagger family, and we're in Wiley, Colorado, and it is a Wednesday morning right here on our 17th day on road trip. We got 21 days, 1,500 miles.
That's a loop.
Well, and here's what I'll tell you is that this is one of my favorite stops.
Well, thank you.
This is truly educational experience, and it really shows from the ground up of what can be done in ag. Let's learn some more.
Yeah. Okay. So let's shift gears. We talked a little bit about diversification at the beginning, and I don't know if you get while we're headed out to the goats out here, if you can get a shot to the west. That's our farm ground here, right? And so ultimately, what we raise here is forage crops. We've raised some corn here before, so we've learned that the forage crops work really good for a small operation like ourselves. We can grow our own feed to feed our livestock throughout the winter. Excuse me. We can sell some of that to the local people. We put most of our feed in what you would call small bale, right? There's a few over here.
I'm advertising.
But we put in that small bale because that's a niche market that allows us to provide something to the consumer that is needed in the industry. A lot of feed goes into round bales or big bales, but it's hard for people that have small acreages or small numbers of livestock to be able to feed like that. I mean, they have to buy a tractor to unload it, and so the square bales is what we do, and so that's our farm ground. I know.
Speaking of buying a tractor, Corbin's got a little side hustle, doesn't he?
Yeah, we're going to show that to you. So Corbin actually went to McClave State Bank. They're just really great to work with these kids, right?
Now listen to this. What grade is Corbin in? What grade is
So Corbin is going into the 8th grade. He actually bought his tractor last summer going into the 7th grade.
Yeah.
And
you need a driver's license to run a tractor.
well,
No,
I don't think so, right? Definitely not in the field.
Yeah, he's out there working
He's
is
out
what
there
he's
working,
doing.
yeah.
I love that. So he went to the bank.
Yeah, I went to the bank.
Said, Mr. Banker,
Yeah.
I got a plan.
He's got a plan, right? And so he had the numbers kind of put together, and our banker's really good to work with kids, but he asked him a lot of questions, kind of went through the business part with him, and said, all right, yeah, sounds like that'd be a good deal. And so Corbin and him got together, and Corbin, signed a loan that the promissory note to pay him back. And Corbin's actually really on track this year to get that tractor paid off this year, which it was a six-year note to start with.
And
right?
what's the potential of that tractor in Corbin's new
Right.
business?
So when my kids kind of hit that junior high age, I wanted them to have assets, right? I remember myself as a kid, I worked for my grandfather on the farm, but I never had any assets. Like I worked for an hourly wage, and I learned so much when I did that, right? But I never really had much to show at the end. And so I want my kids to have assets so that when it's time to go to college, and if they need to sell that thing to help pay for some tuition, those
There
kind
it
of
is.
things, they have that asset to sell, right? And so as a parent, that's my thought process on it. Ultimately, building credit, building knowledge, all those kind of things is something that is really, we all need to know how to do.
Yeah, there's one
Right?
more asset that you're forgetting, and that's the know-how of doing it again, of duplicating it. And that the power of that knowledge is really that's got to be so exciting for all of you. It really is.
Some days more exciting than others, huh, Cass?
Yeah.
There's very few lifestyles left that youth can start at this age. I think some of the issues we have because some of the new rules and regulations that they're always putting in front of us, that we as a company can't hardly hire anybody under the age of 18 because of all the federal rules and regulations and the equipment we use.
Great point.
Farming's one of the few things left that can do this. And I was doing it I think the first note, I bought 10 cows. I signed a note at the bank when I was 12, and Corbin was probably 12 or 13 when he bought a tractor. And so all of those things in agriculture is an opportunity that very, very few people, we talk that 1-2% have that opportunity growing up to do. So any other way we can get that for other kids to learn and through ag education, through high school, they can learn some of that, learn the business plans, because how many people graduate from high school know how to do a business plan? So it's if you'd have known how to do that when you're 18, just think how much farther up the ladder.
I'm still trying
And
to
what you
figure it
do.
out now. I don't even know what to say to that. And this is what's cool about it. This is our second time visiting here. It seems like things are just really coming along and organized. What's in the crystal ball? What do you guys see coming down the road for you here? What's the next year going to bring? Any short-term goals?
Probably to upgrade my baler.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing a rent deal with a guy on a newer 1-year-old baler because I was using my dad's old 4600 and it's a little slower than the rest of
We
them.
call it the grandpa baler. I mean, it was solid, like it knew what it was doing, no problems, but it was just a touch slower. Nothing against grandpas out there. It was just a little bit slower, right?
This is going to be a big year for you. You're going to be graduating. What's
Yep.
next for you? What are you looking to do?
So I'm looking to go to community college. Well, actually, this year I'm gonna run for a state FFA office.
You're going to run for what?
A state FFA office.
Wow.
So my plan is hopefully to get an office, and then if not, I'm gonna start my first year of college at NJC. Northeastern Junior College. I'm planning on being on the livestock judging team, so we'll see how that goes. And then I'm gonna end up transferring to either West Texas or OSU, I think.
Nice.
So.
watch out for these guys, Cassidy and Corbin. They're coming up through the ranks. And then obviously this is instilled in you guys to where you'll pass this on for generations to come as well. Anything else you want to show us, Lance?
Yeah, so we kind of walked over this direction because this is where we keep our production herd of goats, right? This is all of our does.
I love how you graze them.
Yeah, and so we put them in cells here and we're really trying to take care of the land and take care of the livestock at the same time. Sometimes goats get in between cells.
Yep.
I'm going to be honest with you. They're pretty sneaky like that. So you'll see some over here in some different cells, but we try to graze that so we keep that grass healthy, want it to grow back quickly, and we try to rotate them through this grazing system that we have out here. But we also try to keep our livestock not pinned up, especially our production livestock, because they tend to do a little better. You don't want them too fat. Like we talked finish in there on something that we're going to consume. Breeding livestock, we don't really want that. We don't want them skinny. We don't want them fat. We want them, there's a whole system of that I would go through, but we want them to be just right so that they're able to conceive, right, and produce that next generation. And so that's kind of why we're out here. We can go look at the market goats. Okay. All right. Cool. Let's just make the trip back through here. It'll probably be faster than coming back all the way around.
Follow the lead here.
Yep. So last time you all were here, we mainly talked the market goats, right?
Yep.
And so that's what we're going to go check out next is the market goats. Once again, they'll be shown here at county and state fairs shortly.
Now, how did Mom end up finishing up over here?
She offered to. So
How did that happen?
And then we got the boys, the bucks here in the next pen. They're probably actually inside. They're pretty smart. They like to stay out of
They
the
are
pen.
inquisitive.
But they're in the next pen over, and let's go through the south gate right here, and then the kids can talk to you a little bit about the show goats here.
Take it away, guys.
The halters in there.
You guys gonna start talking while I try to get this gate open?
Corbin can.
let's just watch him struggle for a second.
Watch the old man struggle.
So market goats, they're kind of like market cattle, except you show them a lot differently. You want finish and muscularity and as much meat as possible. Once again, you're going to exhibit them at a fair, state fair, or county, or a national show. This is the arsenal for this year. We took them to some jackpots earlier this year. Did pretty well at these jackpots.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah,
Wow.
they need a good wash, and that's for sure. But they're a little bit.
Well, not too bad. Have you seen your dogs?
Corbin,
Yeah.
explain to him what a jackpot is.
So a jackpot would be like a scrimmage. Like in basketball, you're scrimmaging. In the livestock industry, you would be going to a jackpot. It's a practice show where you pay entries, and if you do well enough, you can earn them back. So, like, for places, you win premiums and that kind of thing to try and pay for gas and entries. It doesn't always work out like that, though.
Most of the time, I win my money back, but Corbin doesn't.
No, most of the time I win my money.
There's a little competition here in the family, huh?
Yeah.
So these guys probably actually look a little different than the ones that you guys saw last time. The industry is always changing, right? And so we still want mass as far as muscle is concerned, because that's what we're going to consume. But we've also learned that whenever you add mass to livestock, sometimes it's harder whenever parturition happens, whenever they're kidding, right? Whenever they're giving birth, it makes things a little bit tougher when they're real massive. And so in the industry, we try to be somewhat smart about things to where we have livestock that are a little more streamlined so that that birthing process is a little bit easier, but we don't want to lose the mass of muscle we have. So maybe not as bulldogish looking, but still carrying plenty of mass and just growing well.
You know, all of the species have kind of done that. Cattle years ago used to be bigger is better, and these things were, I called them elephants, and they just, what happened is the steak got too big for the plate. Now you want that steak to be that certain size. And swine has gone away from, they wanted leaner swine. They wanted pigs that didn't have any cover on them. And the industry had fits, and it was really, it was not healthy for the animal. It wasn't healthy for the industry. And so they've actually brought that back again to where you have more cover on those animals, and it's actually better for the animal, better health. And the same way here, you're having kidding problems. You're having problems birthing these animals because of their genetics. So they're changing those genetics so they don't have that problem. So it's you're right. They're constantly trying to meet the consumer's demand, at the same time meet production efficiency.
If I was in an alley in Denver, I think I was about to get jumped right now.
Yeah.
They're planning, Greg. They're planning.
That's right. Where'd you get that belt buckle?
This one's from State Fair whenever I showed my Heifer heifer. So, Heifer is a grant that you can get through the Colorado FFA Foundation. They give you $1,500 to purchase a heifer.
You want my wallet? See, I told you.
They, at the Heifer show, you show in showmanship and then in a live placing class. And the person with the best combined scores out of the whole thing wins it. So I won showmanship and I won my class. So I won with my heifer named Boomer. She's actually over at my grandparents' house. We had some problems getting her AI'd. She wouldn't stick to the AI, artificial insemination, but we finally got her bred, and she has a calf over there that she had last August, I think, that I'm still deciding if I'm going to show him at either State Fair or stock show. I haven't decided yet. But, yep, that's the story about my belt buckle.
What's your proudest ag moment? Is that it?
Probably.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, except I broke my foot after that.
Oh, no.
Because somebody came running through the barn, and I was walking her back from the wash rack to blow her, and she kind of got scared, and she jumped up and landed on my foot.
And it broke your foot? Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, can't I just have a good moment
Exactly.
in my life? You got to break my foot?
Yeah.
How about you, Corbin? What's your proudest ag moment?
My proudest ag moment is probably beating her at county fair a couple of years ago. She beat me last year, but
I love the friendly comment.
almost every year I've shown, or actually every year I've shown, I've beat her in the market doe show. So
You did it last year.
yeah, I did.
Now I want to come. I gotta see this. This is like the showdown.
No, you
right
beat
now.
me in.
They're being pretty good for you right now.
Right?
Yeah.
Are they? They got
It gets a little uglier, but that's
And
okay.
that's okay.
It's interesting how the story's remembered by each.
Yeah.
How about you? Your proudest ag moment?
Oh, there's so many. Obviously, my two kids enjoying agriculture has
That's
got to
gotta
be
be
right
it.
there at the
Yeah.
top. But there's so many times, even with students that I call my kids as well, just seeing them make a breakthrough. Whether that's learning how to weld or maybe it's them finding what they're truly passionate about.
Find your place, right?
Find your
okay,
place.
so this is the perfect way to wrap this thing up, and we're here with the Jagers as well. And Lance, I want to ask you this question: as you're seeing your students move on into life, there's probably that moment to where you give them all this talk and you tell them something very special that'll be that takeaway moment. Can you do that right now with our viewers? Give them that takeaway.
Sure.
Wrap this up big, baby.
We'll see what we
You
can
got
do.
it.
So ultimately, I think the takeaway from the day is just being able to see agriculture in action, right? No matter what it may be, whether it's raising goats or raising cattle or, owning your own small business, the opportunities in agriculture are tremendous. We all need to know where our food comes from, right? We need to know how it's produced and how it's made and how much passion goes into it from people,
Yes, sir.
no matter what that is. But I think the biggest takeaway is knowing that there's things to do out there in life that you truly love, right? And if you truly love it, it doesn't matter how long it takes or how hard a work it is. If you truly love it, it's just a passion you have, and you get to follow that passion.
Yeah, well said. And if you're like me, I ask the dumb questions. Don't be afraid. Just dig in. And there are people out there you'll find the support with and happy to teach you and give you their knowledge. And one thing that you'll find is ag is a great big family community.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love.
Yeah.
Yes,
Cool.
brother.
Thank you, guys.
I love it. Thank you.
guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. All right. That'll be a wrap right there. We got a lot of stuff to do. It is a Wednesday. We will continue. Have to thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. For Lance and for Cassidy and for Corbin and Rick Robbins and Jonna. Gotta thank you for watching this. This is what it's all about, you guys. We're going to continue on, and we'll kick that rock right on down the road. The Modern Eater, we will continue.